Hari Om Padmaji.
Hari Om, sir.
Today let us chant and contemplate on atha chittam.
Atha chittam samādhātum na śhaknoṣhi mayi sthiram abhyāsa-yogena tato ichchhāptum dhananjaya.
Can we chant again?
Atha chittam samādhātum na śhaknoṣhi mayi sthiram abhyāsa-yogena tato ichchhāptum dhananjaya. Atha, if chittam, mind, samādhātum, to fix, na śhaknoṣhi, you are unable, mayi, on me, sthiram, steadily, abhyasa-yogena, by uniting with God through repeated practice, tataḥ, then, mam, me, ichchhā, desire, āptum, to attain, dhananjaya, Arjun, the conqueror of wealth. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of bhaktiyoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Very nice. Thank you, Padmaji. So here Sri Krishna is referring to Arjuna as Dhananjaya. That is one important truth. Then he is giving a suggestion about when your mind cannot be fixed on me, follow Bhakti Yoga. So what is that Sri Krishna is telling us through this shloka? To who does it apply? What has this to do with, is it a statement of Dvaita or Advaita? These are some of the questions that can be raised. Who would like to go first? Shubhaji, would you like to share?
I think this is in continuation to what we discussed last week, where the Bhakti Yoga is, he's talking about Bhakti Yoga, wherein if we practice, if you're not able to focus on him, fix our mind on him, we can do it with practice. Like if we follow Bhakti Yoga, we do it every day, and that in turn will help us in developing a desire to attain Krishna. Is what is said in this shloka. But one question I had when I saw the picture is, it says yoga, jnana, bhakti, kriya and karma. In our daily life, do we have to follow in the same order, or it can be interchanged at any point of time?
Okay. So your question is whether Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Karma Yoga, is it in a particular order?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Fundamentally, Shubhaji, when you look at it, it can be seen as Jnana and some kind of an action. Fundamentally. Because what is Bhakti? Bhakti is, there is someone else, there is something else, a higher power. In whatever form that you get connected to it, you offer some kind of a devotion. And your devotion is offered through some kind of a initially external means in the form of the puja and various kinds of celebrations. As you deepen that, it becomes an internal devotion, but still you and the Supreme in whatever form are two distinct. You and Krishna, you and Ishvara, whatever the form you consider. So there is bhakti. So it can be a mental offering or it can be a physical offering. But ultimately it's an action. There's a movement. That is what you call as bhakti, a devotion. I am not important. You are important. So that is the fundamental approach of bhakti. To reduce the I-ness, to reduce the small I, the ego entity. The ego entity is the only thing that is blocking me from ultimate realization. So bhakti is, I see the ultimate and I think that I and the ultimate are separate. So in that separation only there can be bhakti. There can be conversation when you and someone else is there. Otherwise there is no conversation. So that is bhakti. So fundamentally it's a form of action. It can be a physical action, mental action. Similarly, when you look at kriya, various kinds of practices. It can be your breathing practice. It can be your various kinds of hatha yoga practices. Any kind of a practice where there is a transformation of the energy system of the instrument. That is also some kind of an action only. So there is still a I who is separate from the Supreme, and that I is doing the practice to purify and to attain the Supreme. So there is still a I and the other. Then karma is also action inherently. Whatever you're doing, maybe brushing, cooking, cleaning, whatever the action may be, offer all the actions as an action to the Lord without any expectation of the fruits of the action. That is karma yoga fundamentally. But all these three, bhakti, kriya and karma, are in the realm of action. There is something to be done by someone towards someone else. There is me, who is the ego entity, who is doing all this to a supreme being. That is the fundamental nature of any kind of action. So bhakti, kriya, karma are all in the realm of action. Whereas jnana, it is not about action. It is about fundamental realizations. And that jnana, so for example, right now we are discussing. So this is an action. But the clarity it leaves, the fundamental aha kind of a feeling it leaves, there is no action. Because that is the truth. So for example, when I say, I want peace, so I'm breathing slowly, I'm breathing out slowly. So there is something to be done to become peaceful. That is the assumption with which I am breathing in slowly and I'm breathing out slowly. So there is an action to be performed. Whereas through the instrument of intellect, through a shravana, manana, nididhyasa, when you examine this, what is peace? From where the peace is coming? So was it slow breathing that brought the peace? So where was peace earlier, prior to that slow breathing? And how did it suddenly appear? From where did it appear? Is it something that I'm getting from the breath? So as you deepen that question, you can realize that it is not something that was out there. It must be something that was already in. However, the mind was not noticing it. If it is already something that is already in, is there something really to be done in order to remain in that? That's the fundamental shift in jnana. So it's a simple transition from I am a doer, I need to do something, I am the enjoyer, I need to enjoy. Doer, enjoyer. From that, knowing that this is my nature, peace and silence are my nature. So the sun doesn't have to worry about losing the light. Doesn't have to do anything special to be light. Sun is light. You are peace and silence. So in that clarity, once when that clarity emerges, till the clarity emerges, there is still an action. Oh, we need to discuss, we need to understand, I need to listen, I need to present. So there is still an action. But the light it shows, from that point, there is no more action. It is the realization. That's it. That's Sat. There it ends. You will not keep on traveling to Mysore. Once when you've reached Mysore, you've reached. That's it. It's not that you have to keep on traveling. How many days? It's not a question like that. So what is the distance? And once when you are there near the Mysore Palace, that's it. You've reached. So there, the pathway to that, it is still in the domain of mind only. All of this, whether it is jnana, bhakti, kriya or karma, are all in the domain of the mind only. Because there is someone who is realizing the jnana, who is discussing the jnana. But ultimately, through jnana, you can become clear that the one who I am seeking is who I am already. Tat tvamasi. So only in that clear realization, through the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, using the same mind and body instrument, when that is established, then the seeking stops. Then the search ends. So then it is established. The truth is established. So therefore, in one sense, till the truth is established, there is still a process. There is still something to be done. And in that ultimate realization, you realize that the doing was just a imagination. The doing was just a appearance and disappearance. In the dream, you went to so many places. You fell, you cried, you shouted. But when you wake up, oh, I didn't go anywhere. I was just there only. I was just sleeping. But so many things occurred and disappeared, appeared and disappeared in the dream. And so is the case here. So now to fundamentally come to the first question you asked, is there an order? There is an order. Jnana is the best one because ultimately it is only through jnana, through a separation, through a viveka only, you can realize that you are already that. However, that viveka, when it is operating, it can operate only on the content of the mind. And the content of the mind is what you call as chitta. the memory part. It is in the chitta, when the wrong impressions are stored, the intellect, when it operates based on whatever the content that is there. Intellect doesn't necessarily worry. It operates. And it operates, if you take the analogy of intellect like a knife, the one who is holding the knife is the one who has to operate. Who is holding the knife? It is the ego. And what is the ego doing? Using the intellect to dissect. So as long as it's like a cyclical thing. The ego, who I think I am, based on that only I operate the ego. For example, if I think I am a surgeon, then I use the same knife to slice and to remove something that is not needed by the body. If I think I am a murderer, then I use the same knife to stab and to kill another being. So therefore, who I think I am, based on that only the knife turns into a murdering weapon or a healing weapon. Same is the case with intellect. Who I think I am, the ego, the one who's wielding the knife. The knife is the intellect. And what it operates on? On the chitta. So that is why when the chitta is having all sorts of impressions only from the society, this knife held by, again, a wrong idea given by the society of who I am, the wrong ego or the false ego, it operates. That's why it continuously gets into mess. So therefore, the jnana from the Sadguru slowly helps this one who's holding the knife realize that the one who's holding the knife is by itself a fictional entity. So this now, instead of me and mine as an idea received from the world, has started realizing that it is a mere reflection of the self. In that, then when the dissection is happening, the clarity of the true self is emerging. So therefore, chitta shuddhi, the purpose of all the practices is chitta shuddhi. So as a beginning step, therefore, seva. Do not expect anything. So that's why karma is at their bottom, in one sense. Because it is in the mind that I am someone who has to get something and enjoy something. I did the effort, so I have to reap the benefit. So first, that is the main block. Karta bhokta. I am the karta and I am the bhokta. I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. That is the fundamental illusion. So that has to be first dealing. So therefore, seva is the beginning step. In ashrams earlier, gurus used to give Vedanta after only about 12, 15, 20 years of various kinds of seva by the Shishya. The Shishya would go and seek the Guru, and the Guru would not give the ultimate. Guru would make the Shishya do all sorts of things. Bring water, clean the ashram, chop wood, all sorts of things. Because the fundamental block is within you, operating as me and mine. And it is a fundamental block that is seeking, at the fundamental entity, the ego entity, which is seeking another illusion called as enlightenment. So therefore, it's only the thorn that can remove the thorn. So it's only the karma done in a selfless action, or the karma done without expectation for fruit, that slowly removes the connection, that slowly reduces the effect. It's a clutch by the ego entity. I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. It's a tight clutch. So that has to be loosened first. So therefore, karma is the fundamental thing, seva. Then kriya practices. So when the mind is relatively silent is only when you can do any kind of practice. If the mind is constantly agitated, they said this, I said that, what should I do? Where should I go? You'll not even have time to sit and breathe. Pranayama or hatha yoga, just notice they occur to you only when certain level of silence has happened in the mind, certain level of realization has happened in the mind. That, whatever I'm doing doesn't seem to be helping. So now let me, okay, I've heard, by breathing practice, it can become better. Okay, so let me practice now. So like that, it's kind of in a way, next step. I'm talking from a sadhaka standpoint, it starts with seva and then some kind of a practice. And to see the ultimate and to see the greatness in the others requires a lot more loosening of the ego entity. When the ego entity is very tight, leave alone supreme. I am great and everyone else, is out there to attack me. Is the ego entity's position. So bhakti can happen only when the ego entity has really lessened the grip. But still there is a ego. It may be a purified ego, but still there is a ego. I and you, oh God. There is still a me and a supreme. Still a I and the other. Because in order to offer bhakti, the bhakta and the object on which the bhakti is being offered has to be separate. However, and that's exactly what Sri Krishna is pointing us. This bhakta, bhakti, and the object of worship, the supreme, this threefold division is an illusion. Because ultimately, when the bhakta is so involved in the bhakti, then where is bhakta? There cannot be a bhakta. Then where is the object of worship? So it is a merger, truly. So bhakta experiences this. However, like our Upadesha Saram, the mind absorption is of two kinds. The mind goes down but comes back again through various practices. When you're doing selfless action, I am not important, you are important, I'm offering. So the mind, seeking mind has become silent. So it is silent, but it is not gone away. It is not destroyed. It is still there. The ego is still there. It is hiding. He's saying, okay, now I will do the action. I'll not expect anything. I'll hide. So mind has become silent. So you feel, when I did that seva, I felt so nice, so blissful. When I offered the food and when I saw the other person's face glow, oh, you know how nice I felt? You felt nice because that is your inherent nature. And the one who was blocking, constantly bothering you, had subsided. And same is the case with Kriya or Bhakti. So during the process of doing, the mind has become silent. The absorption, the mind, it has for the time being subsided, the mind. So therefore, you feel a higher level presence. Oh, I felt very blissful. I felt so peaceful. It was so nice. Because the mind which was bothering you constantly, saying, do that, do this, why, all that, had subsided. Like in your deep sleep. In your deep sleep, the mind is subsided. However, it rises again. Because the jnana hasn't been established. There is still duality. There is still various kinds of illusory understanding about the world. So ultimately, all of this can be resolved only through jnana. And jnana can be only through shravana matrena, by the realized beings' utterings. Shravana matrena, that jnana comes and manana happens. This is the truth. Has to be established as a inner seeing, aparoksha anubhuti, the glimpses of it. So when you chanted and when you remain silent, you as silence is the presence. And the mind is no more bringing various thoughts. So for a moment, you as that peaceful silence presence is felt, is realized. And when it is realized, naturally, you are able to see that it's never been lost. And all the seeking is a illusory game. So therefore, yoga means there is a separation. There is two. There is me and the other. There is me and the Supreme. Then only yoga can happen, no? Then only union can happen. But ultimately, in the union, it is Advaita. So any form of doing is a temporary yoga. Any form of doing is a temporary yoga. It is not sahaja. So that's why Sri Ramana Maharshi says, your true nature is sahaja dhyana. Dhyana is not something to do, but your nature is dhyana. Meaning what? Peace and silence. That is sahaja. So sahaja happens when the mind completely is destroyed. Meaning what? When you realize that you are not the mind, you are not the content of the mind. In the clarity of the jnana, you burn all these illusions and you realize that the mind is just a collection of various thoughts and I am the watcher of the thoughts. So I am not the mind. So, but the mind I can use. So now the wielder of this intellect, the ego, is a purified ego. And that wielder is no more me and mine limited. And the wielder is no more what did I get, what did I lose. So the wielder of the intellect is now, therefore naturally operates as the higher self. So as a mother, you care for the whole family. When you cook, you don't start first saying, have I eaten? Then only I will feed the others. Most often, it's the other way. And when everyone has eaten, even if food is not left for you, you're okay. That's okay. I will eat something else. But seeing their enjoyment, you have that sense of fulfillment. Not because somebody told you that that is how a mother should be. That is how you naturally are. So that this is all part of me, and my presence is for the benefit of the other. It naturally shines. And that is how the wielder now appears as a Sadguru. Loka Kalyana. So all the actions are Loka Kalyana. There is no more personal action because there is no more a personal illusory ego to benefit from. Is this making sense, Shubhaji?
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Can you say what is that you understood?
What I understood is these are all required in life. Like it starts from the karma, kriya, and bhakti. But ultimately what I understood is, if I don't have the jnana, then whatever karma I do will not be selfless. Only through the jnana I will know what exactly is happening, right from karma, kriya and bhakti. So at the end, jnana is what is required to attain yoga.
Correct. And the ultimate realization is you are already in yoga.
Yes. I am
Meaning
that.
you're not separate.
Yes.
But there's a sense of separation.
Mm.
There's a feeling of separation.
Yeah. To realize that the jnana is required.
But there's an illusion of separation.
Mm. Yeah.
There is no way to remove the illusion. You cannot separate shadow from you.
Yes.
Shadow is an illusion.
Mm.
So therefore, the only instrument for removing the illusion is jnana.
Thank you.
So as far as day-to-day practice is concerned, therefore, it's a combination. But depending upon the situation, that's why the nididhyasa practice as antar nididhyasa or bahir nididhyasa. So taking a Vedantic statement and operating whatever you're doing helps a lot. And at times when it's like, sometimes you feel like eating a little chocolate. Sometimes you feel like eating a little ice cream. Sometimes maybe nothing but fruits. So like that, various forms of practices are there. Whatever feels natural at any point of time can be used. There is no, it's not like a doctor prescription. But the ultimate prescription is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. And everything else is a preparation for that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, in between it's okay to cheat. Like eating an ice cream, what you said. In between, yes, yeah.
Even when you do puja, so puja can also be a, see, in the puja, there is a sense of, okay, I am offering something to the Lord. And that can be clarified through the right understanding that Lord is within me. However, this is a outwardly display, because when I say close your eyes and let go of yourself, nothing can be seen from outside. I don't know what exactly you are thinking, what you are doing. What is letting go? Nothing can be seen. So therefore, to make the unseen seeable is why the masters have designed the puja. Like our Padmaji keeps saying, no, the true bhakti can be learned from a bhakta. So when you see someone, see when you see M.S. Subbulakshmi sing the way she sings, you naturally feel something which is unexplainable. You naturally realize something that is unexplainable. When you see the bhakti of a bhakta is when you truly realize what is Advaita bhakti is. Because in that bhakta, there is no more bhakta, bhakti, and the one to whom I'm offering the bhakti, that separation has vanished. And that is what you see from outside.
Yeah, this example makes it very clear for me, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Padmaji, what would you like to share?
Sir, I think most of the points are covered, and very well explained the 5 aspects of how we attain yoga. I think only thing I want to add here is that he's just teaching you that like if I take my example, I was doing puja and all these things earlier also, But like you said, there is a sense of you and a supreme power to whom you are offering, because your mind cannot grasp the entirety of somebody that supreme. And so you always play, it is easier for you to place someone like that on a pedestal and worship, rather than think that you are him. It is easier that way. But after I came to these classes, and when you start knowing that you are him, jnana, the knowledge that you are him, I think then the bhakti also like transforms. So then it is not mere like you're offering some flowers or some prasadam and putting at his feet. There is a purpose to that also. That also becomes more refined. And also when you think you are him, definitely the actions that you perform are going to be very, very different, because you always have that thought that if you are him, how would you react? If you are him, how would you do this action? If you are him, then how does it matter whoever says whatever to you? So that aspects also comes into you. So you are more and more established as a witness, then all those changes, transformations come within you. And like you rightly pointed, when some singers sing, they become one with the Lord, and you can feel it. You may not see it, but definitely you can feel it. And I think sometimes nowadays I've started feeling it when I read some books also. Some authors, when they write, again they are like that, they become one with the self. And then I feel like one thought crosses my mind, is this author self-realized? Because otherwise you will not be able to impart such a wisdom or through your writings. So I feel that somewhere when he starts writing instead of you, the outcome is so beautiful. And that is why I think surrender is very important, because when you surrender, then you let that light shine through you. You don't have any inhibitions, or there are no blocks there. So it purely shines, and that is where the difference is made in the world.
Excellent, Padmaji. So the mind, ultimately, the taming of the ego is how many masters put it. So the taming of the ego is the jnana is the best, but jnana, the right kind of a jnana, for that the mind has to be truly fine, refined. Otherwise, the impressions can cause various misinterpretation of the jnana.
Yeah.
Aham brahmasmi. You are that only. Tat tvam asi. So, for example, when that is given, and the statement of realization is aham brahmasmi. So this can be totally misunderstood as, oh, I am already powerful. It is like the rajasic ego being given the highest jnana, and the rajasic ego will convert it into a rajasic action. So therefore, based on the guna, the masters have realized that ultimately it is like a cooking food. You add different elements to make the food taste differently. And they have to be added in the right order. So cooking also, follows a certain order, certain principle. You won't add certain things right at the beginning. If you want a certain taste, you'll add them at a certain stage. For example, the garnishing, you don't add right in the beginning and then at the end, add all the other things on top of it. Garnishing comes at the very end. So like that, what has to be added when is very important. Because ultimately, in the self-transformation, the one who feels separate has to be transformed. So all of this is a technology for transformation. The karma yoga, kriya yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, all are technology for transformation. And the right tool has to be used at the right time. Initially, seeing the ultimate is far more easier for a mind that has been tamed to an extent using the service. And the mind is little more calmer. Then the bhakti can happen. See, that's why if you look at even the Bhagavadgita, Sankhya Yoga, ultimately the true knowledge has been given there only. Whatever the final realizations have been given in the Sankhya Yoga. As the very first chapter, as soon as Arjuna Vishada Yoga ends, he suffered and he is asking so many questions. Ultimate realization and ultimate jnana is given. But, he continues to prod further because there are still impressions. So therefore, next comes Karma Yoga. If you see the transition of even Bhagavad Gita, it is more or less gone in the same order. And 12th chapter is Bhakti Yoga. True Bhakti is Parabhakti. Parabhakti, there is no Bhakta and the object of the worship and the process of the Bhakti. There is only flow of Bhakti. And that flow, the one who recognizes later will call it as, oh, his devotion was ultimate. But for the Parabhakta, the duality has vanished. So therefore, bhakti comes much later in the scheme of, in the steps of transformation. True bhakti can happen only when, mind is silent enough. Otherwise, it's a pompous outward display of bhakti. There is no bhakti. It's only a display. It's only a show. Look how grand my puja is. You know how many things I offer to Lord. But when something doesn't happen, blame the Lord. I did all of it, but you know what you're giving me? So which means the mind is not yet established in the realization of bhakti. So therefore, when you see someone like even Sri Shankaracharya, an ultimate icon of Advaita, he has sung so many hymns which all may feel like, oh, isn't this like Dvaita? True, because in the Parabhakti, there is no separation. So in that Parabhakti state is those utterings. So true jnani is a bhakta, true bhakta. A true jnani is a true kriya master. A true jnani is a true karma sannyasa yogi. So each feed the other. They're not distinct. They appear to be distinct paths. They're not distinct. Ultimately, it is with the right clarity that any of this, when it is performed, it reaches the pinnacle.
Sir, I have one question. It is not like purely related to the shloka.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I'm going through currently, I was thinking that suppose the situation is happening and in the present it is happening, and you are contemplating whether you want to act in this situation or not. So do you just act, or do you think about the like for us, it is a continuation of something, say. So do you just take your decision based on the present, or you should think and like what happened or whatever, there are experiences, so you think on it and then take the action, or you just act in the moment, in the present? Because anyway, past is of no use and all that we learn. So do you take decisions based on that? And do you also think that some of the things are because it is my past karma, that is why it is happening and all that? If that is the case, then you just accept everything, right? And for somebody who's not into all this spirituality, for them your silence does not necessarily mean that you are just accepting it, or whatever. It could be construed in some other way, and they can go on doing it again and again to you, especially if the actions are not so good.
Wonderful. So the ultimate nature of a jnani is inwardly silent, outwardly active. The inward silence is undisturbed. The inward silence is not at all compromised. There is no way to compromise the inward silence. There is no way to change the inner freedom. That is the ultimate jnani. Now the question is with respect to actions which are outwardly. What kind of an action? Again, action is an outcome of various impressions in the mind. So the dominant impressions dominate the pattern of action. In a jnani, the dominance of the impressions has loosened up. So therefore, the action is always spontaneous. A spontaneous, universally acceptable, universally what is well for everyone, such an action naturally flows. That is the spontaneous action in a given moment. It is not by thinking. So for example, you would have seen that video of the cheetah killing the baboon and a baby baboon. So it was not thinking, okay, now I am a cheetah, I have to supposedly eat, but they say it is good to be kind. So now let me be kind to this baby baboon. It is not an outcome of all such thought process, because thoughts are again concepts. So in that moment, the most natural action is what came out of that being. So therefore, the instrument of action is important. Such natural and spontaneous action is available, is always available. As a little child, that was your nature, because the mind was not cluttered with other concepts. But as the mind grew, various impressions also have come in. So that is why various sadhanas, to reduce the stronghold of the impressions, when the impressions have loosened, what flows out is a very spontaneous and an action that is meant to be good for all involved. So till that time, therefore, keep in mind the karma yoga. Is it good for others? Am I doing it with a sense of ownership? Then let me drop the ownership. So having a clarity of that thought and using that thought, using the viveka of the whatever the jnana that you are receiving from the Sadguru, using that you can act. As that action becomes more and more natural to you, that thinking process naturally becomes very, it no more feels like a thinking. That's why you may have heard about one of the talk of Prabhuji. In the beginning, cycling is a very effort-oriented action. You have to be very aware. whether it's cycling or any new thing that you're learning, driving or whatever, you're so aware, you're constantly watching, you're tightly holding. You as soon as somebody talks to you, you say, wait, let me finish this. But as you become more and more established in that particular, whatever the practice, for example, you can drive with one hand while you are holding something on the other hand, and you're talking to others. You're slightly, looking at the rear view mirror, front view mirror in the front. So many things are happening, but still you're easily navigating. So it has become natural to you now. The thinking process, which happens in the active part of the mind, the conscious part of the mind, has reduced. So because the deeper subconscious impressions are now purified in that particular action. Likewise, when the subconscious impressions are purified, what flows is a very natural and spontaneous, appropriate action in a given moment. Till that time, I can be consciously acting. So I have to practice. That's what Sri Krishna is again and again, even in this shloka. Follow the regulative principles. Regulative principles means what? Wake up at 3 o'clock, take a bath. For example, if you are a Sri Vidya Upasaka, wake up at 3 o'clock, take a cold water bath, don't eat anything outside, do this particular japa for 21 times, and do this puja every 21 days, call these people, do this. So it's a regulative, it's a do, commandment, do like this, don't do like that. There's a boundary. Because it's in the boundary that one can learn. When you're learning the driving instructor says, don't do that, stop it. So he's giving you commands because the knowledge is not yet established. The practice is not yet established. So therefore, to your question, what is the right way to act? Act consciously, keeping in mind what is the right dharma in that given moment. See how your involvement is. Am I doing it out of wanting something? So be aware of it. You have to be aware of it. Only when you act with complete awareness can it become an established practice where you not having to think about it consciously, it just happens. It just happens naturally. Does that bring clarity to Padmaji's question?
Yeah, yes, sir. So then from this, I'm going to another question is, when you act in any situation, you feel very good within. I can't put it in words as good, but there is a feeling associated with it where there is no question coming up whether I did the right thing or not. You just do it and you go your way, or you go on to your next one. So I feel that that's kind of a guide from within that, yes, it's all right for everybody. Is that okay to follow like that? I mean,
yeah.
Or again, there's some other ego aspect is coming.
See, any selfless action leaves a sense of peace and quietness within. And that's your ultimate test. Whatever I'm doing, is it making me feel more at peace with whatever the situation of life is? Am I becoming quieter and quieter? Inward, not necessarily outwardly. Even outwardly people will notice, but inward is the important thing because that is the basis of the outward. Inward is the peace and silence which is constant actually. Is it the presence? Am I getting disturbed? So the situation is a test for the inward maturity. So the situation is coming to see how mature the inward has become. Same person, same scoldings by the person to me, how am I inside? Versus how I was out some days back. That determines. So therefore, you are correct. When you perform an action, is it leaving you quiet and peaceful? Is a very important measurement. Am I becoming more and more quieter and peaceful in any situation? I may be saying I'm okay, I'm peaceful, but inside I'm still burning. So what Prabhuji gives, that measure, fire, the frequency of irritations, the regularity of them. So that is what burns as fire, the anger. So has it started reducing? All these are measures that you can use as a guide. And then you'll naturally be tuned. As you keep doing that, you'll naturally be tuned to receive guidance from the universe. In a way, when the right action is performed, like Sri Krishna says, when you perform yajna, then only rains happen. Means what? Samriddhi, abundance. So when the right action is performed, abundance is blessed on you. And it is not necessarily in the form of external wealth. That abundance is more and more, you will be blessed to walk in that path. It's like I lead program about 2 or 3 years back. None of us knew who all will join, how many children. And Prabhuji keeps using this example. Today, so many have come, so many people from so many different parts that it is unimaginable how all of them are getting connected. And whenever any of the program happens, any of the seva program happens in Light of the Self or in Sevak, what I've seen personally is whatever is needed for that program, all comes on time. All of that is in abundance, and it leaves everyone involved with a total sense of wonder and gratitude. As an individual, one couldn't have planned for that. But as a whole, it just seems to flow, seems to happen. Like the example of that Bhagavadgita book, Prabhuji always gives. So when that elderly person decided that he wants to distribute Bhagavad Gita, but was wondering how I will be able to carry all this, you may recall that story. So,
yes,
like that is the flow of the grace. So all these you'll start getting tuned to. Because grace is what operates every moment. Padmaji, is that bringing clarity?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So that's why Prabhuji always says, purity of the heart and clarity of the intellect. And purity of the heart is by all these practices. Service, bhakti, they all purify the heart. Because there are various emotional impressions which need to be purified. And jnana clarifies. It's this combination. It's this combination of purity and clarity. And they're not two separate things. They are the same. It may appear to be distinct. Purity and clarity. And when that comes together, the left and the right, when that comes together is when the true blossoming can happen. When the namaste can happen. When the heart can happen. So all of this is a holistic approach. They may appear to be distinct. All right. If there are no questions or statements, shall we conclude today's session?
Yes, sir.